Minister. Well, that may have happened, or I'm not so sure. Today's speech was interesting. One big policy push, and that was on the whole concept of green energy and his target, believe it or not. He wants to reduce CO2 emissions by 2050 to zero. Let's hear Corbyn on green policy.
I can announce this today that our programme of investment and transformation to achieve a 60% reduction in emissions by 2030 will create over 400,000 skilled jobs to ensure that comes about. Good jobs based here and on union rates, bringing skills and security to communities all over the country that have been held back for far too long. And we will go further, with plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to zero by the middle of the century. And I am determined that we achieve that.
Yeah, quite how you get to zero, I'm not sure. Was there anything new in that? Well, I guess the scale of it. And if Jeremy Corbyn becomes Prime Minister, there will be a lot more wind turbines on our green and pleasant land, whether you like that or whether you don't. Then, of course, there was the whole business of money, childcare, etc.
I can announce that Labour will make 30 hours a week of free childcare available for all 2-, 3 and 4-year-olds. So we owe it to you, the older generation, to rebuild Britain so you have peace of mind and dignity. We will fulfil that obligation with a triple lock on pensions, protected, along with the winter fuel allowance, a bus pass, and a national health and care service that can look after you and your families with the respect that you deserve. This is solidarity between all generations.
So there'll be lots of money, folks, but do you know what? So far, nothing really very new. But I think the absolute key to understanding Corbyn's speech today, at least my analysis of it, is to hear the end of his speech.
Where the Tories have divided and ruled, we will unite and govern. We represent the new common sense of our time. And we are ready to deliver on it. We must speak for the people to whom Theresa May promised so much but has delivered so little. And we must take our message to every town, city and village, united and ready to win, as we were in 1945, in 1964 and in 1997. So that when we meet this time next year, let it be as a Labour government.
Now, that was the end of his speech, and they clapped, and they stood up, and they did the polite thing. But you'll notice there was no great roar. There was no huge, massive sense of energy, excitement, enthusiasm, or that they'd heard anything new. It is my contention, folks, that this was, certainly compared with what Corbyn was delivering last year, a pretty lacklustre performance. And it's summed up, in my view, brilliantly by Adams, the cartoonist for the Evening Standard, and he's a brilliant cartoonist. And his front page of the Standard today is Jeremy Corbyn, wearing his Lenin-type cap, shaking his fist, solidarity with the workers, carrying the little red book of Karl Marx and looking a little bit old, a little bit unexciting. And that really sums up how I felt about Corbyn's speech today. I felt it was lacklustre. And let's just compare that to the sense of energy, and he really did do this. I remember being on this show the day of the Labour Party manifesto last year, and I began the show by saying, regular listeners, and particularly my supporters, will be surprised by what I'm about to say, but I think Jeremy Corbyn was really good today, and I thought he was really good at that manifesto launch. There was an energy, there was an enthusiasm, a dynamism, and it carried him through an election where Labour far exceeded expectations. Onto, of course, Glastonbury. Let's hear Corbyn at Glastonbury.
Oh, Jeremy Corbyn. Hey! Hey, hey, hey! Hey, hey, hey!
I mean, he was a rock star at Glastonbury, and today he's being portrayed by a cartoonist of a London Evening Standard as a little old man who's an out-of-date class warrior carrying a book of Karl Marx. And I have to say, I don't think today was particularly impressive. In fact, I have to say, I think we've gone well past peak Corbyn. I'm asking you, do you agree with me? Have we passed peak Corbyn? If you think, yep, Nigel, you've got it right. You're on the money. He's over the hill. He's going down. That popularity that he had last year was never going to last. Call me on 0345 6060 973. Or maybe you think, Nigel, you're missing the point completely. He is a hero. He's the Prime Minister in waiting, and this time next year, he'll address that conference as Prime Minister. If that's how you feel, please text to 84850. Or maybe you think, actually, he's okay, but it's the Labour Party's policies and that tinge of anti-Semitism that we've seen that's doing the party damage. If that's how you feel, please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC, at LBC, and of course, Facebookers. You can watch us live and comment there too. Said my piece, think it was lacklustre, think he's past his best. That's my view. Tell me I'm wrong. Robert is a brand new caller from Cambridge. Good evening, Robert.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome. So, is he over the hill? Is he past his best?
I don't think he's fundamentally changed. I think it's just the general view of the Labour Party. I think the thing about Jeremy Corbyn, people saw him as a decent sort of, which I'm sure he is, decent sort of bloke. Mm-hmm. You could trust him. He was a, quote, new type of politician, unquote. And I think people just wised up to it. I think part of it was around the anti-Semitism issue. My God, he took so long to deal with that. Yep. People thought, well, if he takes so long to deal with that, how does he deal with the really big issues? You see his stance on nuclear weapons. I mean, my God, when I heard that, I was thinking, what's he going to do? Invite the guy round for tea and have a chat?
Well, I think, no, Robert, it's very simple. If we face a crisis where we may have to use a nuclear weapon, I think there's going to be a big committee meeting to discuss it.
Well, exactly. So I think by that time we would have been vaporised. So yeah. I think now, I should say, I used to be a Labour supporter many, many, many years ago. And what I have a problem with now, and I'm taking a slight subject thing, on the Labour stuff that's been coming out the last few days is you think this is the 1970s all over again, but even more extreme, even more blatant.
Yeah.
And I just like to remind people, for those people who think the Labour have come up with some fantastic ideas, I have two words for them, and that is Margaret Thatcher. So Margaret Thatcher was a creature of her time, in part. She came into Parliament or was elected because, let's face it, people are heartily sick of what the unions were doing, the number of strikes that went on. And remember, we were the sick man of Europe? The sick man
of Europe is what we were called. Absolutely.
Cap in hand, the IMF, I think it was in 1976.
Trouble is, Robert, people like my daughter, who's 18, who'll vote in the next general election, to them, the IMF bailout, inflation of 20%, that's kind of history, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think people have a heart attack when they actually think, my God, interest rates could be up above 3-4%. I remember there was, actually this happened also during Thatcher's time, let's be honest, so 16-17%, but inflation at the end of the 1970s was what? 20%?
Yeah, so I think 27 was the peak. So we're back to the 70s. It's even worse. Yeah. Have we passed peak Corbyn, Robert?
Yes,
we have.
I think we've definitely passed. The anti-Semitism thing was a total debacle.
Yep. Okay. I get the point, Robert. I thank you. I'm going to move on. Going to go to Louise in Archway. Louise, you saw the speech today from Corbyn. Am I right to think he's past his best?
Hi, Nigel. I think that the policies that he came out with are quite a lot of the elements I really agreed with, and I felt like it was one of his better speeches. However, I do feel like we have passed peak Corbyn. Mm-hmm. I think the anti-Semitism has really divided the Labour Party, and those fractures I'm not sure whether they can actually now be healed, particularly with Brexit. What I liked was the fact that obviously a lot of what he was calling for was quite radical, and I know that for some people that would put them off, but for me there were things I really agreed with, particularly his childcare policies, because I think that's the key to social mobility, targeting early years. I think the problem is that Corbyn he wasn't really ever planning to be Prime Minister, and I think although he's definitely improved in the way that he kind of comes across as a leader, as a prime ministerial figure, I feel like he's made so many errors now. We can't have him as Prime Minister. I don't think you can repair that damage.
He's been found out. Louise, thank you. Rupert, in Maidenhead. Rupert, I think he's past his best. I don't believe we're going back to Glastonbury or that hero worship that he had back in the general election 2017.
Good evening, Nigel. I don't know if you remember, I actually sang a beautiful rendition of Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, do it again. Go on, do it.
Oh, Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, not bad. Better than I could do. I
bet you secretly do it in your sleep, Nigel.
No, I promise you I've got better things to think about, honestly. But we listened to the Glastonbury clip a few minutes ago. He's past the best, isn't he?
Well, so a lot of... So what I think he's missing is it's his stance on Europe. Because now a lot of people call Brexiteers fixed, don't they, Nigel?
Yep.
But to a degree, there are lots of Remainers out there. I'm not going to call them thick, and I don't think Brexiteers are thick. I think they're uninformed. And I think if you look at the general election in 2017, a lot of people voted for Jeremy Corbyn but didn't know that he's a Eurosceptic.
Rupert, 5 million people who had voted Brexit voted for Corbyn because he'd reassured them all that year that a vote for Labour was a vote to leave the European Union and the single market.
So, with that, what he has done, though, that's come out, and I think it's a brilliant move, is he has come out and he said, if Labour members vote for a second referendum, we will have a second referendum if we're in power. Because what he's trying to do, and this is where the Conservatives have gone wrong with their stance on Brexit, is the Conservatives are divided over Brexit and have ever been since 1993. Because I believe you used to be a Conservative man, Nigel.
Oh, back in 1900 and frozen to death I was, yeah. Rupert, exactly. Rupert, you're missing the point. Whether he endorses a second referendum because his membership forced him to do it or not isn't the point. Those 5 million Brexit voting Labour supporters will not respect him for wanting a second referendum.
But he's trying to get his party behind it, and then he's giving people the option again.
Well, Rupert, doesn't work. Doesn't work. Brexiteers do not want a second referendum. Some do, but very few do.
Yes, but
Rupert, I'm going to leave you there. Great rendition of Jeremy Corbyn. Do come on again next time we debate him. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC at 6:15 and time for the news headlines with Lisa Aziz.
Jeremy Corbyn says Labour will push for a general election if the Prime Minister can't achieve sensible Brexit plans, which include protecting workers' rights, the Irish border and environmental standards. Theresa May has told business leaders in New York there is uncertainty about what the future holds in terms of Brexit, but US companies should feel encouraged to invest in the UK. The RSPCA says the rare white beluga whale spotted in the Thames estuary for a second day is swimming strongly and feeding normally. LBC weather, rain continuing in the north tonight, drier though elsewhere, a low of 10 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Jay Louise Knight, and on the underground due to the strike by members of the RMT, the whole of the Piccadilly line is now suspended. It's expected to continue into Friday. In fact, a normal service isn't expected to run until Saturday morning. On the trains, after a signal failure, Southern can't run from Watford Junction to Milton Keynes Central. It's also causing delays and cancellations on Virgin West Coast and Northwestern to and from Euston. Now onto the roads, delays of well over an hour clockwise on the M25 between 22 and 25. That's London Colney to the A10. After an earlier accident. There are delays of 40 minutes heading north on the A1M towards Welwyn Garden City at 6 following an accident which has cleared. Lewisham Road in Lewisham is closed with a large fire, and Redcliffe Gardens in Chelsea shut at Old Brompton Road because of an accident.
This is LBC.
Cruise. Voyage. Boat. Queen Mary 2. Snacks. Afternoon tea. Party. Gala ball. Memorable. Unforgettable. A voyage with Cunard. It doesn't just sound better.
Block management. 2 very simple words. But what do they actually mean? Well, there's budget approval for starters, then service charge invoices, health and safety paperwork, cleaning, gardening, maintenance, inspections, contracts, insurance, emergency call-outs, and a whole lot more besides.
So for complete block management solutions, just remember 3 simple letters: ABC. ABC Estates will take care of all your day-to-day management, leaving you as happy as Larry. See abcestates.co.uk or call 0800 888 6688.
Hello, my name is Nengi, and I was diagnosed with cancer.
Help children like Nengi beat cancer by popping your pre-loved clothes, accessories and homeware in a bag and donating it at any TK Maxx. Each bag could raise up to £30 for Cancer Research UK kids and teens. Give up clothes for good at TK Maxx.
And help children like me beat cancer.
Hello, it's Bob here from Batley Close News Agents. There's something in the air tonight. I've barely had time to restock the crisps. It must have something to do with a £21 million lotto rollover this Wednesday. Trust me, you wouldn't want to miss that. Lotto, amazing starts here.
Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Britain has many noble traditions. The changing of the guard, tea drinking and bog snorkelling. But the tradition that embodies our very essence is undoubtedly the Great British Queue. However, our national pastime is under threat from the fiendishly simple SO app, which will do away with queuing for fuel altogether, meaning one can pay for fuel from the comfort of one's own motor vehicle. One can also collect club card points whilst doing so, as if the end of queuing wasn't enough.
The new SO app. Say cheerio to queuing, Britain. For more information, visit so.co.uk. SO app available at participating SO sites only for fuel purchases under £100.
People ask me,
Hey, Admiral, what's the deal with multi-cover insurance?
So I tell them, we take home and car insurance, bundle them up on a single policy and give you a multi-cover deal. Then...
But our renewal dates are different. Yeah, renewal dates.
No problem, I say. Start today with your home or a car and just tell us when you'd like the rest to join the policy.
Wow, that's so easy.
It's happy faces all round. And we end with... Get your multi-cover deal at admiral.com.
Booking a voyage? Step into another world at cunard.com.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
A year ago, he was a folk hero. Today, he looks like an ageing class warrior. That's my interpretation of the way Jeremy Corbyn's speech went down at the Labour conference today. I think we're past peak Corbyn. Tell me I'm wrong. 0345 6060 973. Meanwhile, over in New York, at the United Nations, following the excitement of Donald Trump's speech yesterday, guess who's been speaking today? Prime Minister Theresa May. And here's what she had to say about Iran.
Other aspects of Iran's policies, in particular its destabilising regional behaviour and sustained efforts to enhance its ballistic missile capability, continue to cause serious concerns. The international community, and where appropriate the Security Council, need to be ready to address this.
Yes, Mrs. May, I agree with you 100%. In fact, you're backing up Donald Trump's position on Iran as the biggest sponsor of terror in the world. So why, Mrs. May, can you explain to me, are you going along with the European Union's view, which is that the Obama nuclear deal was a good deal, and indeed, the Foreign Minister of Europe, the unelected Miss Mogherini, said yesterday, we are opening up and facilitating more trade with Iran. Can you make your mind up, Theresa? Are you going to follow the Europeans? Are you going to follow the Americans? Or could we please have an independent British foreign policy? Because you can't say one thing at the UN and do completely the other when you're in Brussels. I don't get it. We're past Pete Corbyn. That's what I believe. Does Barbara from Chichester agree?
Oh, a while ago, Nigel.
A while ago. And what was it, do you think, that put Corbyn past his peak?
Well, I mean, if you mean the peak, the adulation
yes.
That he gets,
yes.
if you mean it that way, I think probably after Glastonbury.
Yeah.
But I think, to be honest with you, I think he's never really thought that he would ever be Prime Minister. But he loves the adulation. He's just got drunk on it.
Well, human beings do like adulation, Barbara. I mean, it's not an unnatural thing for people to want to be liked, I suppose.
I mean, I'm not sort of really saying much about that, but I don't think he really thinks he would be Prime Minister. I think he realises that. No. OK. So you think a realisation has sunk into him that he's never quite going to make it, and that's kind of made him a bit lacking in lustre. When I heard him speak today, I felt a bit sort of hysterical. I thought he was going to put his hands in his pockets and start throwing money about. That kind of feeling that he was getting really carried away with saying things that just couldn't happen.
Well, Barbara, money is no object, because under a Labour government there's going to be no shortage. Barbara, thank you very much indeed for your call. He is a messiah to his supporters, but when he gets to power, they will realise he's full of words, but not clever enough, I'm told here, to run the UK. Nigel, I think Corbyn has lost momentum. OK, very good pun. Seriously, I think momentum made him popular in his early days. I'm not sure he has their backing now. Well, I think provided he goes along with a second referendum on the European Union, he will have Momentum's continued support. Right, let's go to Vic, who's a new caller from Dartford. Good evening.
Hi, Nigel. Nigel, what can I say?
Well, I don't know, but you've got your chance. You're on LBC, so have a go.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say you are a brilliant politician. I give you that. I think what you've picked out from this particular speech is nothing wrong with his policies, nothing wrong with what he actually delivered, nothing wrong with anything that was done during that whole speech and where he's going with it. You've picked out on how the crowd responded, and I think that's
really key, Vic.
Thing to have picked out,
really key.
Because, I mean, you've compared it to Glastonbury. Come on, Nigel.
Yes, I have, Vic.
Because there's men sat there in suits, and they're not people who are partying at Glastonbury.
Vic, have you... Stop. Have you seen the pictures of today's Labour Party conference? There were not many wearing suits, believe you me.
Well, perhaps they're just not like you, Nigel. Perhaps they're just not like your crowd of UKIP followers in their suits and boots standing with a pint in the pub, but they're not going to be roaring and shouting.
Well, you've got me there, but it's a fair cop on that one. No, Vic, the point I'm making is this, right? I have attended, spoken at and watched many party conferences from many political parties in many countries in the world, right?
Yeah.
And when you have a leader's speech, most of the people in that hall have spent their own money and their own time in travelling to be there. They want to believe, because they are the faithful, they want to believe in what the leader's saying and where the leader's taking the party. And when they get a message that really gets them, really makes them feel in their hearts that it was all worth the effort to be there, do you know what they do, Vic? They stand up and cheer. And what I thought we saw... Hang on. What I think we saw, Vic, is polite applause without much enthusiasm.
But if I were to put to you, what were the policies that he put forward today that were not something that you believe he will follow through on? Well,
green energy. Green energy. He says he'll create 400,000 jobs in green energy, good jobs at union rates. All the experience I've got, Vic, and all the evidence I've got is for every one taxpayer-funded job you create in the green sector, you lose 4 jobs in traditional manufacturing, refining and other areas. So I take issue with him on that.
Gosh. Okay, fair enough. Well, I don't know enough about that, unfortunately. But I must say, I mean, talking about 2-year-olds getting 30 years of free care, 30 hours of free care a week, stuff like that. People like myself, hard-working people, I'm in a professional job, I work very hard, I have a 1.5-year-old, and that is a phenomenal bit of help to save me going in debt, really. So these kind of things are massive for people like us.
Yes, and I understand that fully. I just sometimes, Vic, ask the question, because during the election campaign last year, he was hinting not just an end to tuition fees, but he was hinting an end to anyone that owed money on tuition fees, until he was told...
Well, I would not that personally, because I'm a 30-year-old still paying my tuition fees.
I know, and you're paying 6% interest, which is a blooming outrage. But when he realised, Vic, that cost $100 billion, he kind of dropped it. My worry is, if we're going to talk economics, his sums don't add up, and the business policies laid out by John McDonnell would mean a lot of people would simply leave this country.
Well, going back to what Conservatives have done and what they've told the country they would do, austerity measures and all. If I were to run a business, if I was selling wine in a wine bar, if, for example, I was running into trouble, I wouldn't be able to just keep on saving because eventually my company would go under. What I would need to do is, if I want to keep that company alive, just like we want to keep this country alive, I would need to borrow more and come up with a suitable and sustainable business model in order to make that country successful again. So I don't understand this austerity. If money needs to come from someone, we need to borrow it. We need to borrow it to get there.
We are still borrowing nearly £50 billion every year. There is no austerity. We are still living as a country beyond our means. And this is a point that's very hard to get through. Vic, you're a great sport, great call. And agreeing with Vic is Becky in Woking. She says, after today's speech, Corbyn's got my vote. Everything he said would benefit me and my family. Becky, I get it, I understand it. Just as I did with Vic with childcare, I just wonder where the money's coming from. Maybe Luke from Bromley can answer that question for me. Good evening.
Nigel, good evening everybody. The thing we've got to remember is not just to look at the headlines. We've got to look at who Corbyn is in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as an ex Labour voter myself under Tony Blair, things were, in my opinion, going quite well. But I had to.
Well, things indeed, Luke. In those days, things could only get better, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. And then gradually we saw Labour become from a leader to leaderless. We had the likes of Miliband, we had Brown, we then had a geography teacher who ran Labour. Right. Okay, we now have a party which is run by someone who probably couldn't possibly lead a Morris dancing party, and he reminds me of one of those cockles on top of a church which just goes with the wind according to which way it's blowing. To me, he can't control. He's not prepared to push a red button. He's prepared to fund it, but not push it. He obviously speaks against Jews and things, and he even mixes with the wrong people, terrorists and such like. We shouldn't forget these major things. Yes, he can give a few quid to the children and things.
And is that why, Luke, he's past Pete Corbyn? We found out who his friends and associates have been.
He may be past his peak, but his peak was quite mediocre at best.
All right, Luke, I thank you very much indeed. Really interesting question. Neil asked me on Facebook, why is Jeremy Corbyn meeting Michel Barnier tomorrow? Secret meeting. Secret in the sense that it's not going to be minuted. Is it a last attempt to undermine the choice of the country on Brexit? Corbyn has been a Brexiteer, but one thing for certain is that Barnier continually meets with Remainers in this country. Folks, forget about collusion with Russia. Forget about Cambridge Analytica. Forget about all that crackpot stuff. The real collusion that is going on today in British politics is between the establishment and the European Commission, who want to undermine the negotiations and force us into a second referendum. And I'm afraid Jeremy Corbyn, despite his past, has been sucked into all of that. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 6:30 and time for the news with Lisa Aziz.
Jeremy Corbyn says Labour will push for a general election if the Prime Minister can't achieve sensible Brexit plans which include protecting workers' rights, the Irish border and environmental standards. The party leaders also outlined plans to expand free childcare, build more homes and create thousands of jobs in renewable energies. While Theresa May urged US businesses to invest in the UK, promising the lowest rate of corporation tax in the whole of the G20. She's been speaking at a Bloomberg conference in New York and also at the UN Security Council, where she's called on Russia to cooperate with the Salisbury nerve agent investigation. British Airways staff have been giving evidence at the inquest into the death of a girl on a flight in 2016. The captain of a plane's defended not diverting it after a teenager from southwest London had a severe allergic reaction to a Pret sandwich and died. LBC weather, rain continuing in the north tonight with some heavy bursts over Scotland in particular, dry though elsewhere with a low of 10 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
The kids will be all right under Labour. That's what you'll hear from party leader Jeremy Corbyn. Free childcare to all parents of 2, 3 and 4-year-olds. Richard Bergen, who's Shadow Secretary of State for Justice. Why would a millionaire qualify for free childcare?
Well, means testing can cost the state more.
Have you looked at means testing?
A better way of doing it is to ensure that everyone has that right. That's the reality.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7. LBC.
Lanes 2 and 3 have reopened between the junction 1 and the roundabout northbound slope from southbound.
Driving is not a game. If you tailgate the car in front, the closer you get,
the less time you'll have to react. Don't be a space invader. Stay safe. Stay back. Search Highways England for more information.
Calling all hard-working minicab drivers. Are you earning between £1,000 and £1,600 per week? No? Well, you could be, with Greyhound Car's 18% commission rate. As part of a pooling group of 45 minicab companies in London, we have high demand and are now offering 18% commission deals for new drivers. We allocate each job within 5 seconds to the nearest available driver, so you spend less time travelling to jobs and more time earning money. Apply today at greyhoundcars.co.uk.
Hi, I'm a sale. A sale your business can make if your phone system is a Vonage phone system. Then you and your team will be able to make calls anywhere on any device, so you can communicate easily, generate ideas, brainstorm, find more sales, like me.
Answer every opportunity with Vonage. Just visit vonage.co.uk or call 0203 435 8000. Terms and conditions apply.
Ever noticed how lots of adverts urge you to act now, don't delay, or be quick? Well, this is for the new Audi A6. It has touchscreen operation, voice control that understands everyday language, an optional intelligent sat-nav that knows how to avoid traffic. So, far from rushing, it'll give you plenty of time. The new Audi A6. Come and test drive one at an Audi centre. In your own time, of course. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Rollo, if I let you off this lead, promise not to run into the angry farmer's field. I'm not going after you again. Be good. Rollo!
Nobody likes chasing things. Xero online accounting software works for you and automatically sends invoice reminders, so you'll have less chasing to do and more free time.
Rollo! Come back!
Try the award-winning Xero, free for 30 days. Ask your accountant or visit xero.com.
Do you take credit cards, she says? Yeah. Like I've got a card machine in my toolbox?
No one pays cash these days. I use a PayPal Here card reader. Fits in my pocket. I take cards, even contactless. With no monthly fees, job done.
Get paid by card or contactless wherever you do business with the PayPal Here card reader. Now with £20 off until November the 30th. Search PayPal Here card reader.
Right, you're around then.
Sorry, pal, not carrying cash.
Subject to application approval, terms and transaction fees apply.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag #FarageOnLBC.
We've passed Pete Corbyn. That's my view. Your job is to tell me I'm wrong. 03456060973. And to get a bigger flavour, perhaps, of the Labour Party conference, let's listen to Laura Smith, the Labour MP for Crewe and Nantwich, because she was calling yesterday on the stage for something rather more radical than an immediate general election. Listen to this.
Comrades, we must topple this cruel and callous Tory government as soon as we can. And if we can't get a general election, we should organise with our brothers and sisters in the trade union to bring an end to this government with a general strike.
Now that's real applause. That's real applause. That's a Labour. Can you hear them whooping it up? It's like a rock concert. She's called for a general strike to bring down the government. I mean, talk about a rabble. And sitting next to her on the platform is Richard Bergen MP, the Shadow Justice Secretary. And what did he do? I mean, you'd have thought he'd have got up and walked away, wouldn't you, at this sort of call for a general strike? He stood up and applauded. I mean, this is the modern face, folks, of the Labour Party. It's class warfare. It's bring down the government. It's tax the rich. It's attack businesses. If they get in, it will be a complete economic disaster. And I think that is part of why Corbyn is past his peak. He appeared to begin with, when he became the Labour leader, to be sincere and genuine and really genuinely to care about people. But the longer this goes on, I think the anti-Semitism row in the party exposed him rather with Middle England, and I think when it comes to economics and numbers, he actually begins to scare people. That's my view. What does Nick, a new caller from Kew, make of it all? Good evening.
Oh, good evening, Nigel.
So, is Corbyn past the best?
No, absolutely not. He's got a real chance here to try and speak out to the middle classes, just much as similar as New Labour did in '97, well before my time, but had a real chance there to really grab the middle class vote. Where Corbyn fails is he's very for the poorest of the poorest, but those who are poor in the middle classes and relying on debt with high rents, etc. He really fails to speak to those people, and that's why I'm from a very Labour family, but I won't be voting Corbyn like I did in the last general election. He really fails to speak to the normal working classes and the middle classes who are just trying to go about their day, making their daily bread and going home again.
And is it, Nick, is what puts them off the fact that they fear he will overtax them?
Yes. So we're already overburdened with tax. I mean, a quarter of my wages go on tax, student loans and national insurance, and then my own union subscriptions. So, again, it's the fact that we're paying so much money. I'm on a high rate, and I would never dream of earning the amount of money I was making, say, 10 years ago when I first started working.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the tax system in this country is ridiculous.
So you're paying the higher rate, and you're paying your student loan back.
Absolutely.
So you're paying.
I have to work every day to try and make the same sort of money.
You must be paying what, near 60% of your income in tax and student loans.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's embarrassing when I get my P60 and I'm trying to buy a house at the moment. I live in Kew, but London is completely out of the question for me. I'm having to go back to Stoke-on-Trent to try and get a house just so I can have some property.
And just to recap, Nick, you voted for Jeremy last year in the election.
No, I voted Lib Dem.
You voted Lib Dem.
There's literally no one else to vote for. The fact that there's no party out there that's actually supporting the middle classes. It's Tories, tax for the Tories, tax for Labour, tax with any other party. There's no other party saying that I will make you a rich man tomorrow if you vote for me. In America, they've got the two-party system, and one of those parties out there will speak to the people who want to get rich, who want to get better on in life.
Yeah, not rich, but aspires to do better. No, Nick, I get the point. I thank you. Corbyn is going to struggle with the middle classes. Blair didn't struggle so much with the middle classes by saying we will not put up taxes, and people believed him. Faiz is a new caller from Leytonstone. Good evening.
Hello, Mr. Farage. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome to the show. What do you make of Corbyn today?
Well, I heard the main points, and I thought I was in a bit of deja vu. Because you remember me correctly, the free child placing was actually starting the coalition by the Liberal Democrats, wasn't it?
There was nothing really brand new here today at all, was there?
No, and then triple up pension start by the Liberal Democrats.
We've heard all that before. Yeah, we've heard all that before.
Yeah. And what was the third one?
Yeah, green energy
phase.
Green energy has been talked about by governments for the last few years. So maybe he wants to do it on a bigger scale. Maybe he wants to reduce the planning restrictions on wind farms.
Well, the green energy is a very simple solution to it, and it was done the coalition government. You put up solar panels, the people pay for them, the money they get from that they pay back for the solar panel. It doesn't cost you anything. Chinese don't need to build nuclear reactors in our country.
And what about wind power? What about wind power?
Liberal Democrat.
What about wind power? I mean, the over-reliance on wind power surely is quite a big mistake, isn't it?
Well, relying on any single, I'm an engineer by the way in the background.
Okay.
Relying on any form of single energy is a mistake. So if you said tomorrow, let's build all nuclear reactors, that would be a mistake. But a combination of wave power, sun power, and wind power can somewhere alleviate some of the things that the downsides of using, say, fossil fuel or nuclear.
Coal or whatever. Yeah, no, I get that. So, Faiz, interesting. Your point is, we've heard all this stuff before. Do you agree with me that overall it was a quite lacklustre performance?
Well, he didn't come across as a leader. He offered nothing new. Even if you think about it really carefully, he even offered to go and coalition with the Tories. He said, if she does this, then I'll support her. But that's a coalition.
Well, that was on Brexit, but yeah. OK, Faiz, thank you for your point. Jazz is in Crawley. Jazz, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. And first things first, a big congratulations to Donald Trump for yesterday's speech at the UN. Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I know that socialists and globalists hated it, but I loved it. But let's move on from that to Jeremy Corbyn's speech. What did you make of it?
Well, I think they need to put that on loop so that people can actually listen to it and not vote for it, because all I got from it was more open borders, more destruction of the family, more welfare, more immigration, you name it. Labour are going to pay for it. So, you know... Nigel,
No, Jazz. No, Jazz. Labour are not going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it.
Exactly, Nigel. I'm a working man. Today I've done a really hard shift.
Yep.
And tonight I'm eating T-bone steak with salad. And if Jeremy Corbyn was in power, I'd be eating Spam. And
Well, no, Jeremy Corbyn's a vegetarian. He wouldn't even encourage you to eat Spam, I'm sure, Jazz.
Another hoax there, mate. You know, I just can't take any more of this giving. I'm a hard-working man, and so are so many people out there. And we're fed up with just giving.
You're so cynical. You're so cynical, people like you. Don't you understand money grows on trees and it can be given away by governments easily?
It does, mate. It does, doesn't it? You know.
Listen, enjoy your steak, and thank you very much indeed for your call. Lorraine says, all those plans, Jezza, you can't do any of it if we stay in the EU. What she's referring to is nationalisation, another theme of the Labour Party this week. They want to nationalise lots of industries, possibly without compensation. Lorraine's point being, as EU members, you wouldn't be allowed to, a point that seems to pass many in Momentum by completely. Oliver is a brand new caller from Leeds. Good evening.
Hi, Nigel. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
I just want to say that brilliant. I'm a student in Leeds, and my brother's a student. I'm living with a load of students right now, and I just want to say that a lot of the people I know did vote for Jeremy Corbyn. My brother voted for Corbyn in Cambridge. Actually, it was the first time it switched to Labour for years and years and years. Definitely speaking to people, people realise now that the mask has slipped. On looking at the things he used to say about the European Union like 20 odd years ago, and how suddenly now he's getting behind calls for a second referendum.
Oh yeah,
people just can't trust him. I'm saying that as a Brexiteer, but as students, they don't trust him either.
Didn't he, Oliver? Isn't it true, Oliver, that at the election when you all voted for him, he sort of gave the impression that all the debts would be wiped away, and that's now changed, hasn't it?
Yeah. Recently graduated, and where he went to university, the constituency had never voted Labour before. It suddenly switched. Never voted Labour before. It suddenly switched.
That was Canterbury.
All the students there.
That was Canterbury, wasn't it?
Labour.
That was Canterbury. Yeah. Canterbury, quite extra. To see Canterbury go Labour was amazing on that promise. But Oliver, you have come up with the phrase of the night, and well done you. The mask has slipped, says Oliver, and that is why we are past Pete Corbyn. I'm utterly convinced of it. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC, and it's now 6:45 and time for the news with Lisa Raziz.
Jeremy Corbyn says Labour will push for a general election if the Prime Minister can't achieve sensible Brexit plans, which include protecting workers' rights, the Irish border and environmental and consumer standards. While Theresa May's told business leaders in New York there is uncertainty about what the future holds in terms of Brexit, but US companies should feel encouraged to invest in the UK. An online investigations group says one of the prime suspects in the Salisbury nerve agent attack is a highly decorated officer in Russia's military intelligence service. LBC weather, rain continuing in the north tonight, drier though elsewhere, a low of 10 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Jay Louise Knight, and on the underground due to the strike by members of the RMT, the whole of the Piccadilly line remains suspended. A normal service isn't expected to be up and running again until Saturday morning at the earliest. Onto the trains, Southern remains suspended from Watford Junction to Milton Keynes Central. It's after a signal failure earlier this afternoon. It's also causing delays and cancellations to Virgin West Coast and North Western services to and from Euston. Now onto the roads, still seeing long delays clockwise on the M25 between 22 at London Colney and 25 for the A10 following an accident earlier. There's been an accident heading out of town on the M4, so I expect delays towards Junction 10 for Wokingham and Bracknell. One lane shut at the scene. An accident in Bromley Town Centre's closed the A21 Tweedy Road at Bromley North train station, and a large fire means that Lewisham Road in Lewisham is shut from Lone Pit Vale to the A2 at Blackheath Road.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
At 8, it's Cross Question. Nicky Morgan, Joe Swinson, journalist Matt Kelly and comedian Jeff Norcott join me. At 9, tattoos. But first, it's the LBC News Hour.
Ian Dale on LBC. Disaster can strike as quick as a flash. Now, it's all about damage limitation and having a response team that can act fast.
Ideal Response can be on the scene within 2 hours, working 24/7 to ensure damage caused by fire, smoke and water is kept to a minimum. Ideal Response, the 24-hour damage restoration and specialist hygiene service. Our business is restoring yours.
The Jaguar XE. The most advanced, efficient, and refined sports saloon Jaguar has ever produced. And there's 0% interest. We find that very hard to believe. The stunning Jaguar XE-R Sport now available with low monthly payments and 0% APR over 36 months. So why have an ordinary car when you can have a Jaguar? Search XE offers for more information.
Available on selected models until 30th September 2018. PCP Finance. Credit subject status. UK residents over 18. Terms and conditions apply. At participating retailers only. Black Horse Limited Trading is Jaguar Financial Services.
Mouth Ulcer Diaries, Chapter 1. The Peril of Lady Scarlet.
Oh gosh, this mouth ulcer pain is just the worst.
Luckily, Bongella's on hand to offer some assistance. 3 minutes later.
Oh, thank you, Bongella. You're my hero.
Until the next adventure, Bongella. Fight mouth ulcers in 3 minutes. Always read the label.
Hello, it's Bob here from Batley Close News Agents. There's something in the air tonight. I've barely had time to restock the crisps. It must have something to do with a £21 million lotto rollover this Wednesday. Trust me, you wouldn't want to miss that. Lotto. Amazing starts here.
Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
The Volkswagen Caddy from just £179 per month on contract hire now comes with 2 free services. So instead of spending your money on this, you could spend it on this. Or even this. Incredible offers to help your business thrive. Search Volkswagen Caddy to find out more. Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles. Working with you. Business users only, excluding VAT at 20%. Over 36 months. £537 initial rental. T's and C's apply. No ownership. Until the 30th September 2018. Volkswagen Finance.
Meet the team that's turning Fortis luxury outdoor wear into an international business. There's the director, Oliver.
Hi.
The operations manager, Maddie.
Hello.
Ruth is an apprentice.
Hi there.
Then there's the sewing team and the hand stitchers.
Hello.
And Phil.
Hi.
He's the relationship manager from Lloyds Bank, who, by working together with the business, introduced them to the Lloyds Bank International Trade Portal that connected them to new overseas markets. Lloyds Bank, by the side of business.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
The Tory party, I mean, they're at war with each other. They're in the most terrible, shocking mess, more divided perhaps than they've ever been in modern times. And yet, the Labour Party do not have a clear, distinct advantage over them. And my contention, folks, is that nothing Jeremy Corbyn did in that speech today is going to help them to be 10, 15 points ahead, which is frankly where they ought really to be. Because the speech was lacklustre. There was nothing much new. Even the Labour faithful just about stood up and sort of politely applauded, but there was no great rah-rah or enthusiasm. Long way from Glastonbury. Before we get back to that, on Monday I kicked off an auction for a lunch for LBC's charity, Global's Make Some Noise. So the plan is, support this charity which backs small, brilliant projects across the United Kingdom, helping children and their families living with illness, disability or a lack of opportunity. We raised a load of money last year. We're 2 days in. We're doing okay. The drill is, we'll have lunch at Franco's restaurant here in central London. It's very, very good. It'll be a Friday. I won't be broadcasting that evening, if you understand what I mean. It's there for you and 2 of your friends to come and have a PFL, a proper Farage lunch. It'll be fun. Bidding is open on lbc.co.uk. It closes at 6:45pm, Thursday the 4th of October. So go to lbc.co.uk to bid. You've got to be over 18 and you must read the terms and conditions first. Thank you. Right, let's go. Red Ruth in Cornwall. We're going to speak to Terry, who is a new caller to this show. Terry, I thought it was all pretty uninspiring today.
It
it was totally uninspiring. Hello, by the way, Nigel.
Hello.
I've always wanted to speak to you.
Good to have you on. Good to have you on.
I watched it with horror, really. I've been watching this conference, and for me, today, it was the death of the Labour Party as we know it. I mean, I actually thought, if Jeremy Corbyn wasn't stood there, I'd have thought it was the Liberal Democrat conference. There was no I mean, where's the really hardcore working class? I didn't see that represented at all. And his stance on Brexit, I mean, I just cannot. Honestly, I'm bewildered. And people say that he's a leader. I mean, a leader actually stands up and says, look, I think it's going to be ABC for the country. That's where we need to go. But actually what he's shown is that he's a bloody weather vane. He's not committing to anything. He's supposed to be a man of principle.
So what you want is a signpost.
40 years, Nigel.
Yep.
He's, absolutely despised the European Union.
I know.
And the so-called left, I mean, they knock capitalism and, people being rich and all the rest of it. Why do they want to stay in the EU?
Well, the amazing thing, Terry, the amazing thing, the Austin Mitchells, the Tony Benns, people on the left of the Labour Party always saw the European Union, they always saw it as a rich man's club, they always saw it as being dominated by bankers and big global businesses. They were absolutely right, and it is bizarre, isn't it? When you see these people holding pro-Remain flags, and I see them in London sometimes, and I say, well, why are you campaigning for Goldman Sachs? It's bizarre, isn't it?
That's the bit that really baffles me. They talk about, the Labour, voters are supposed to be, my family, we voted generations of Labour. Originally, I live in Cornwall now, but I used to be in Lincolnshire. And actually, I went to Lincolnshire for a family funeral the other day, and I've not been back for 15 years. And I went to Boston. You've probably heard about it on the radio.
Boston, yeah.
And I'm not joking. I was absolutely gobsmacked. I mean, Lincolnshire, I've brought up, been raised there. It was unrecognisable. And Boston, in many of the pubs, the Polish and stuff won't even serve you. You're not allowed in the pubs. I mean, it was a really scary place. And it's like, I just don't get it. But Corbyn,
Terry,
people say that he's a man of principle. There is no principles in him whatsoever.
So he will not be getting your vote, Terry, I'm guessing.
He won't get mine, and he won't. Like I say, my family, we were all Labour voters, but I'm afraid while Labour stays in the position that they are, because it's not about supporting the working class, they will never get our vote.
It's about the North London elite, Terry. They run the Labour Party.
Yeah, and if you're not, then you don't fit. So,
absolutely. Terry, great call, great passion. Thank you. Paul is a brand new caller from Paisley. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
So, what did you make of Corbyn today?
Listen, I thought he's brilliant, and I just think that you must think he's brilliant, but you're just looking to have a go at him because he's Corbyn, right? I don't think you actually believe your own hype. I think you like the sound of your own voice. You go on about.
Well, I wouldn't be on radio otherwise, Paul, would I? No, you're quite right.
The whole country wants Brexit. You're talking about England. Maybe they don't want it in England. Nobody wants it in Scotland.
Oh,
right?
Paul.
You're talking about you stood under. And I've heard you before that. No, wait a minute now.
Paul,
whoa. The 350 million.
Whoa. Paul, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Well, maybe you're not prepared to listen. I don't know, Paul, whether you want to listen for a moment or not. But the idea that Scotland has completely different attitudes on the European Union or immigration to the English, Paul, it's utter nonsense. There may be differences, but they're not that huge.
See if you said it dark at night, I would not believe you. Because, and people, all you get is people that agree with you. You love Labour, it makes funny people, right? Or if somebody says something funny about Corbyn, you love it. Oh, yeah, say it again, sing that song. You're an idiot. Honest to God, you're a first-class idiot. And I'm
if this is the level of intellectual debate coming from Paisley tonight, we're in for a thrill. In fact, I may stay on for a further hour and keep this going, Paul. Paul, tell me, I believe... And by the way, I did say last year, when he launched his manifesto, what a great speech he'd given, all right? So be fair to me on that. I can be objective. But I thought today, Paul, his speech was lacklustre, and his own party faithful hardly cheered it to the rafters. So why was he so brilliant today, Paul?
I never heard the whole speech, but the things that I did hear, I thought they were good. The childcare and everything was good. But my point is not about Jeremy Corbyn's speech. My point is about you. You just have a go at anybody that's no Brexit. And I just...
No, I don't, Paul.
Nigel,
I don't,
didn't
Paul.
want to talk to you. Nigel, I did not want you to even talk to you. Yeah, it was the guy that I was speaking to the phone said to him, no, please talk to him, right? I didn't even want to talk to you because I don't even like hearing your voice. Usually when you come on, I put the radio off.
Well, I'm amazed you're on the line then, Paul. I mean, if you've got better things to do with your life, don't bother with me, you know.
You needed telling, Nigel. Right, I'm going to cut you off because I've got another call.
Go on then, off you go, matey. Have fun. Have one for me. I think you've had a couple already, actually. But hey-ho, that did rather fit in with a slight stereotype there, but please don't abuse me for saying that. Let's go to Joey in Harlesden. Hi, Joey.
How you going?
So,
Nigel, you're a hero.
Hello. There's obviously a gang of you there. Now,
that guy is bonkers. They are like the list. These people on the list, they are so gobby and they're so full of themselves. And I think they know it all, and they want to put us in our place, and they want everybody to just shut up.
Well, they do have. I mean, Jerry, they do have a moral superiority over us, of course, don't they?
Oh my God! Oh my God! It's honestly sometimes my you know, because we're keeping it all in a lot of the time. We're just getting on with our day, and you know.
Of course you are. Joey, your exasperation is clear. The line is rotten. Thank you. Well, thanks everybody, including you, Jimmy, who rang up to have a bit of a row. It's quite fun when they do that sometimes, isn't it? I'm nearly finished. I'm going to go for a drink, try and catch him up, I think. I'll be back tomorrow night at 6, at 10 tonight, it's Tom.